welcome back to Sofa Sessions. My name is Gemma Barnes, and in this series we talk all things performing, audition, singing related. Now in this episode I want to look at the pros and cons of having a musical theatre agent. Now this is specifically for UK based performers. I know it's slightly different in the US and elsewhere in the world, so this is just my point of view for if you are a UK based performer. Okay, so let's look at the pros first, so the advantages of having an agent. So first of all, and for me this is the biggest and the best thing about having an agent, is you've got a partner. You aren't in it alone, you're not working for yourself on your own. You've got somebody else that is working with you, that is wanting you to succeed in your career and is going to help you take the steps to do that. Now, agents generally get access to more auditions than what you would as a self-represented performer. So if we look at Spotlight for a second, not everything gets put out on Spotlight to everybody. There are certain castings, certain breakdowns that only get put out to agents or even to specific agencies, depending on the casting team and what exactly they're looking for. It might not go out to everyone, to agents and self-represented performers. So you might not be able to see every single casting that is available that pops up. Also, for some specific casting teams, depending on sort of if there's a really quick turnaround, sort of a 24, 40-hour turnaround on a project, then they need people that can do the job straight away. So they'll go to sort of their trusted sort of couple of agencies that they really, really trust, that they know are going to have people that can do the job that they're looking for. They will just reach straight out to them. Obviously, if you're with one of those agents, then that is super beneficial, yeah? It is an agent's job, or part of their job, to network, to connect, and to build and create really good relationships with casting teams and creative teams. It sort of comes as part of their day-to-day work. It's beneficial to them and it's beneficial to their clients and is beneficial to the casting directors and casting teams as well. If you look at it as a sort of risk factor thing, say you've never met the casting director, you haven't got an agent, you haven't got a vocal reel, there's no sort of example of your work anywhere, and you submit for a project. You are a 10 out of 10 risk, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest on sort of the risk scale. You are a 10. Bringing you in for that audition is a huge risk to them, especially if they've had, say, 2,000 submissions and they can only see 300 people. The chances of them bringing you in is very, very low, purely because they don't know you, they don't know what you can do. It's very risky for them to bring you in that audition room. You might not be what they want, what they need. They're taking a big risk. If they've never met you, they've never seen your work, but you're with an agent that they really trust, then that sort of lowers the risk factor more to sort of a 5 or a 6, because that agent may turn around to them and say, look, she is perfect for this job. Trust me, I know you've not seen her do anything, but call her in. It'll be worth it. You're sort of more around a 5, 6 risk because they trust that agent. So they're going to go, oh, it's a bit risky because I've never seen her perform. I don't know what she can do, but I trust that agent. So I'll call her in. Again, lower the risk even more. If they know you, they know what you can do. Maybe they've seen your show reel, they've seen a vocal reel, they've seen you in auditions, they've seen a show that you were in, and they know your agent. As soon as your agent puts you forward for that, they're going to go, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to bring her in because I trust that agent. I know what they can do, so let's call them in. The risk there lowers to sort of a 1 or a 2 because they know what you can do, and they know that the agent's not going to put somebody up that's not going to be able to do what they're asking. So if you look at that, if you've got options of 1 2s, 5 6s and 9 10s, you're going to go for the 1 2s that you know are going to be able to do it, and the 5 6s to kind of risk a little bit and give a few new people a chance. Casting teams are working for somebody. They don't have sort of the final say very often on things. It's what the creative team want or the production team want. So they need to bring in the right people that the production and creative team want to work with, because at the end of the day, if they don't, then they're not doing their job. So it's about lowering that risk scale. If you think of yourself on a risk scale, you want to lower the risk as much as possible. If you're near a 9-10, you need to start doing things to get your risk lower. Now, the final advantage, and probably the best one, is that they do all of the legwork for you. So you need to just worry about yourself, you're performing, you need to work on your craft, you need to get to class, you need to keep investing in yourself while they're busy doing the admin for you. They're submitting you for jobs, they are dealing with negotiations of contracts of pay and on all of that side of things. So you don't have to worry about any of that extra stuff. All you need to do is be the performer, the best performer that you can be. Now let's look at the disadvantages of having an agent. So an agent generally takes between 10 to 15% commission off of all of the work that you do, all of the money that you make, as their fee for getting you the work. And that counts even if you go to an open audition or you get an audition yourself that they haven't necessarily arranged or booked for you, you've done the work for. But that is how it works. They'll have still been submitting you for other work. They'll have still got you other auditions and created connections for you with casting directors and things. So there are still a lot of benefits to having them there as your agent, and for the reason that you're paying them that 10 to 15%. And when it comes to sort of negotiating contracts or dealing with fees and money and things like that, actually, do you know what? 10 to 15% is pretty good for everything that they do for you, if they're a good agent. There are some areas of the industry where honestly you don't necessarily need an agent, i.e. cruise ships, hotels, holiday parks, theme parks, that sort of area of the industry. You don't need an agent to get into auditions to get the job. Not having an agent does create a little bit more work for you, but you kind of have to weigh up the options of, if it's a job that I can submit for, I can audition for, I can negotiate pay and sign a contract for on my own, then do I necessarily need to pay an agent 10-15% of that if I can do it myself? So that's a conversation you kind of have to have with yourself if you want to work in that area of the industry. If you want to work in that area of the industry and maybe work and audition for other things as well, then it's a good option to have an agent. Honestly, you can work in any area of the industry with or without an agent. It is personal preference. But there are some jobs, in my opinion, that you could save yourself paying commission fee for if you don't have to, or if you want to avoid it. With having an agent, you don't have full control over your own career, over what you get submitted for. They're going to be putting you in for things, they might not be putting you in for things. You are never going to know every single step that they take. So you have to have an agent that you trust, that you have a good relationship with, that you fully trust and believe is going to be submitting you for the things that you want. If at any point you've ever got doubts or you see something that you'd be perfect for, you can get in touch with them and just say, look, I've seen this job, I think I'd be really good for it, have you submitted me? And I'm sure they'll say, yeah, we have, here's a submission list from the last sort of month, this is everything we've submitted you for. You can ask for that. You can say, can you send me over a list at the end of the month telling me what you've submitted me for, because I'd really like to know, and I'd really like to see what areas I can work on and need to be, maybe look at connecting with those sort of casting directors, the teams that you're being submitted for that maybe you aren't getting seen for. That can be really helpful. But not having full control for some people can be a downside to having an agent. If you are with an agency or joining an agency, then you will need to sign a contract. That's something that you definitely want to take time and look through. There'll be various different clauses and terms and things in there, so you just want to check that. Very often agents will have terms and conditions about work that they've got you if you leave their agency but continue to do that work, and payment agreements and things like that, or notice periods. So if you leave the agency or they decide that you're not the right pairing, if either party terminate the contract, then there's sort of a certain, 30-day or 60-day or however many day notice period, something like that. So if you do sign with an agent, or you are signing with an agent, or you are with an agent, just double check your contract, really read that contract through thoroughly so that you know what you're signing, what you're getting yourself in for. If you are with quite a big agency, they've got a lot of people on their books, sometimes you can get a bit forgotten. If you're not regularly in the forefront of their mind, castings are coming in that you're great for, or you're reaching out to them, you're making connections, you're getting in the room a lot, or for whatever reason, if you're with a big agency, sometimes you can get forgotten. You can sort of get pushed down to the bottom of the pile. So it's sort of part of your responsibility to keep in touch with your agent. At the end of the day, you are partners. So you want to make sure that that connection is always there so you don't get forgotten. And finally, the biggest disadvantage of them all in my eyes is so many people are with an agent for the sake of being with an agent. Finding the right agent for you is key to succeeding in your career. If you sign with any old agent, the first one that expresses any interest, or somebody that you're friends with or that you've heard of, or worse, that you've never heard of, you haven't really looked into, but you're like, at least then I've got an agent, that is one of the worst things you can do for your career. You want to make sure that you are with an agent, if you want one, that is on the same wavelength as you, that is going to be good for you, that's got good connections, good relationships. Generally, experience, knowledge is going to be helpful, but there's a lot of new agencies actually that do a great job because they've already built those connections, You want to make sure that you're not just signing up with any agent that's not going to be beneficial to you just so you've got an agent, because if that is the case, you're better off without them. You want somebody that's going to work as hard for you as you work for yourself. Now, final thing, if you don't have an agent, don't fret. It's not the end of the world. You've got full control of your career. How great is that? You can create connections, you can build relationships, you can work on your craft, you can submit yourself for the things that you know you're right for. You have the power to do that. And whether you have an agent or whether you don't have an agent doesn't mean you're any better or any worse than somebody that does or doesn't. You also aren't any more likely or any less likely to achieve your dream job. You can still achieve things. There are hundreds of performers that have succeeded in their careers without having an agent. There's hundreds of performers that have succeeded in their careers with an agent. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both, and it's not going to be the same for every single person. Every single person, like every single voice, is different. So what suits you and what is best for you might be very different to somebody else. Work on you, promote you, and celebrate you. With an agent or without.